Thank you for joining us on Data Cloud Now, where we bring you the latest in all things data in business and industry. Today, we are taking a closer look at transformations taking place within the retail ecosystem. I'm now handing things off to our DC Ed correspondent, Gautam Srinivasan in Bangalore, India. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm Gautam Srinivasan, and welcome to Data Cloud Now. We're now joined by Freddy Guard, Head of Retail for North American Market at Snowflake. Freddy, great to have you with us, and looking forward to your thoughts on changing data-driven economics, or rather dynamics, in the retail and CPG sectors.
Thank you so much, Gautam. It's my pleasure to be here and looking forward to sharing my thoughts.
Absolutely. So let's start with how equations have changed on both sides. One is from the buyer journey, the buyer profiles, millennials, of course, coming to fore, changing consumer behavior, changing habits. The other side is the supply chain, all the changes that have happened, especially over the past 2-3 years, as the pandemic kind of brought forth the data-driven culture that we talk about. So looking at this huge, massive shift that's taking place, take us through some of the key highlights in your opinion.
Sure. So I think the number one change that we saw as the disruption that happened during the pandemic is the changes in consumer behavior. Consumer behavior changed really rapidly in terms of how consumers interact with brands. So if you think about it, when pandemic hit, a lot of us were forced to stay at home with our families. The way we consumed products and the way we interacted with the brands and the way we shopped for those products changed completely. And that changed almost overnight. And as a result, a lot of companies and corporations and retailers were trying to catch up to the change in consumer behavior. The other thing that's happening is consumers are more digitally savvy. They're interacting with technology in multiple ways. And hence, brands have to figure out, and retailers have to figure out a way to reach them where they are. So the great thing about that is it offers up multiple opportunities to get to know a consumer in a much more intimate manner. But it also offers up challenges because you have multiple data streams now that you need to interact with. So how do you bring all of that data together to really understand the consumer in terms of their behavior and also their expectations? Expectations have changed rapidly over the last couple of years, right? Now you expect, like I think we heard this morning, Swiggy wants, if the delivery is not within 40 minutes, it's considered a bad experience.
All right, expanding on some of the points that you mentioned, how has the conversation around targeting customers across various channels evolved, especially considering now we are in a CX world, right, where customer experience is higher than brand and product rather. So how has that conversation evolved, and which direction is it heading right now?
Sure. So I think if you think about it, the evolution over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk of omni-channel experiences and making sure that there is an omni-channel understanding of the consumer. Now the expectation from the consumer is that it's a seamless experience. So they don't really want you to differentiate as a brand or a retailer in terms of where they're interacting with you. So what that means is you really need to be able to understand consumer behavior and offer a seamless experience. If that seamless experience gets disrupted in a manner which is not relevant, in terms of too many email targets that you end up getting, or too many irrelevant offers, then you end up losing the consumer. So the big challenge now is with the changing in data privacy laws, how do you deal with generating the first-party data that you have, managing it in a secure manner, enriching it, and then finally activating against it in a meaningful manner? I think that is the big challenge that a lot of companies are trying to solve now.
All right, and speaking of challenges, but the big barrier is also getting a holistic view of customer data. And in that context, when you look at the retail ecosystem, there's not a lot of data sharing between players, and they're dealing with unstructured data, and there are other issues as well. So I want to understand from you, how is the retail data cloud from Snowflake kind of helping in overcoming these issues?
Sure, great question. And I think if one silver lining that came out of the pandemic is a lot of companies realize that they're better off working together rather than working in their own little silo. What that has done is it's opened up retailers to the possibility of collaborating with brands in a bigger manner. And what that does is helps them do joint business planning in a much more meaningful manner and helps provide the right kinds of experiences for their joint customers. Now, having said that, the bigger challenges lie in how do you do it in a seamless manner from a technology perspective, and that's where Snowflake comes in. Because our whole mission is to mobilize the world's data. And the way we want to do it is we want to do it in as simple a manner as possible while being able to enforce the strictest governance that you want on your data sets and be secure. And our ability to share that data without having to copy data multiple times means you're able to share the latest data at the right levels of privacy that you want with your collaborating partners. Once you eliminate the management of those data pipelines, what we've seen as the demand for consumption of data on both sides increases tremendously. And that breeds new business processes, new innovation, and new ideas for retailers.
Speaking of new ideas, what are the new use cases emerging when we look at this sector, especially say that, what the data cloud enables, whether it's inventory, merchandising, sales, what are the new use cases emerging?
Sure. I think more than new use cases, what we see is new ways of solving some of the old outstanding challenges that have been occurring in the industry. So for example, we have large global brands working with large retailers to share demand forecasts on an ongoing basis. What that is doing is they're able to reconcile the demand forecast in a lot more timely manner. And they're really able to take action on it rather than having to worry about data being stale or data being latent and not really syncing up. So that is improving joint business planning. The other way we see is media agencies and brands being able to share data in a secure manner to enrich consumer profiles. So not only what you consume from a brand, but what you watch. What are your attitudes? What does Gautam really like? Right? So there are multiple ways in which these data sharing is enabling new ways of targeting and fulfilling customer experience.
Well, as they say, retail is all about the details. Well, that's your checklist for transformations taking place in the retail ecosystem to keep up with the always-on customer. Freddy, thank you so much for joining us here on Data Cloud Now. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Gautam. It was my pleasure as well.
Thank you so much. And of course, thank you to our viewers as well for tuning in. Stay with us as we bring you the ringside experience from the Data Cloud World Tour India series.